group, as I understand, had used 3 hazards: earthquakes, forest fires, and floods. And what we are trying to do here is to come up with activities that could actually lower the risk of those hazards. So, to make things a little more interesting, we have competition, as I said yesterday. After you heard all 3 presentations, you will be voting for the best group. So the best group has all 3 hazards at the top-notch level. And after that, we will have vote for each hazard. So it is possibility that every group received a award, prize, or it's a possibility that only one group received 4 prizes. So we can move on. Group number 1, the floor is yours. If you have USB stick, please. Your group 3, why? Okay, your group Lilac. I'm going to go over there. No, democracy. No. So after the presentation, the other groups are allowed to ask questions, ask for explanations, and grill them a little bit. Of course, and our presenters also are invited to have some difficult questions.
Good morning, everybody. I am Eren from Turkey. It's okay. We start our group work discussing about our hazards in our countries. So as Zawisza said, the hazards are as the same as other countries, which are the common hazards in our region. These are earthquakes, floods, and forest fires. Of course, we discuss more globally. We can discuss more globally, which can be also be our first our topics, but we just focused on these hazards. As I said, these are the floods, earthquakes, forest fires, and we choose them. And what are the approaches that should be considered in taking these hazards or the way of the considering? So we just think that involving all stakeholders is a must, because we are preparing our plans. We have to involve our partners, and it should be collectively integrity, should be an integrity, and also should coordinate all actors in the area. So we can go on from the slides. These are our risks in our regions. So for the first hazard, earthquakes, we start. Maybe it is not so. It's just it hits when the earthquake hits the countries. Its hazards are more common. So we just take it first. So our coordinator for the activity it changed, but we consider that maybe under ministry or maybe under National Disaster Management Authority Agency, it should be gone. And we involved ministries, other related ministries, and municipalities, and non-governmental organizations, and also universities. We can continue. We can add other stakeholders as well. So Oh, and we also talk about UN agencies, but for coordinator or for institutions, we didn't put it there. So, sorry. So the first, we think that about rising awareness about earthquake risk is the a common goal of our activities, or for strategic activity, raising awareness is important for us, for all 4 countries. So we write down the activities are with campaigns, education activities, and volunteering issues. And these activities should raise the awareness about the risks of earthquakes, and just we talk about before the culture of the taking risks in insurance issues. So that's why we choose these activities first all over the countries, we are in the region and also region. So we took these activities, and we need at least almost 10 million euros. So these are also supported by EU, UN, and national budgets. I can go on for the second activity, and this is also for improve planning issues. Just we discussed, the planning is also gap, and we have to do before the hazards, before the disasters. So when we make a good plan, we first think that identifying gaps in governance is also a common problem in our countries. So we have to identify them, then create a guideline for planning, and then improve the data collection. This means that safe data from the regional, from the countries, or from the seismic activities. So this is more cheaper than the first activity, and this is 5 million euros, and also with the support of the other constitution, other partners. And these all 3 activities stands 5 years, we can say the middle term, for the planning issues. And the third activity is improved institutional capacity. This is also the way of make our countries resilient. So we have to improve our capacities in our countries and in regional at that. So training the volunteers, recruiting the more search and rescue staff, establishing early warning capacity systems. So this is the budget is now improved a little more because of the early warning systems and recruiting the search and rescue staff. So it is 20 million euros. So for the second hazard, floods also hits our countries as climate change. It's seems morely. So for coordinated activity, we can say that in our countries it is the General Directorate of Water. All 4 countries have this Director of Generate, so we can use it, and the involved institutions are the same. So we also think that raising awareness about flood risks is a must because of the culture of the planning and all other disaster risk reductions activities. So campaigns, education activities, encourage volunteering is also in our key activities as earthquakes we do. So our budget is 5 million euros. So for raising awareness, so it was 5 years period, but for the second I misspot. What's the name of the second activity? Okay, also capacity building is issue for the floods. It's more than 5 years, it's 10 years period, maybe long-term period, we can say, because of some infrastructure issues. We think about it. Building retention and accumulation of excess water is more investment in infrastructure. So it is 50 million euros, and also other budget supports we take. So also we think about the establishment of early warning systems and analyzing of need assessment for search and rescue activities. And the third one is for floods hazards. Exchanging experience between the regional partners is for improve efficiency on preparedness. This is something to help each other more collaborate the countries and regional solutions. So we will do common exercises, analyze the different practices in this project. Yeah. This is more cheaper, 3 million euros. For the third hazard, forest fires is also general disasters in our region. Our institutions are the same, and also coordinator of activity, also Minister of Forestry may be changed in our countries, the coordinator institution. So also raising awareness about forest fire. We choose awareness and of the people in our countries is the first activities for each disasters hazards. So we made campaigns, education activities, and encourage volunteering about this activity. Yes, budget is 5 million euros. So it is also 5 years period. We can say the middle term. So for the improve institutional capacity, we made also training for volunteers, implementing course for firefighting pilots. This is a subject for which we discussed before more bit, because maybe it could help to make our own capacity more and develop our more capacities. So also exchanging experts in regional level, so it can help also countries for the fight against the fires. So this is 15 million euros, our budget. And the third activity for these hazards is improved planning, also identifying gaps in governance. In Turkey, I can give an example. We also have gaps in governance about against forest fires, response issues. So also creating guidelines for planning, establishing early warning systems is our key activities in these hazards. This is the last of our presentation. Thank you very much. If any question now or later, I don't know.
Thank you. Wow. Oh my God. Does the group number 3 has something to add, maybe? Last chance. Okay, then we can start with the other group's questions.
So no question, or what? I saw you wrote that one of the key activities regarding earthquakes are early warning systems. What kind of early warning systems regarding earthquake? I mean, any kind of activities or warnings are always post-festum activities. There is no prediction regarding earthquakes.
There are some few seconds warnings for earthquakes.
Yeah, this is very important part of the system. Yeah, early warnings for earthquakes. Yeah, we can establish when the earthquake hits, the system of gas distribution, electricity can close system. Yeah, maybe it's induced. It can yes, prevent.
Dams and such a thing, but that's post-festum. It is not prediction. It's post-festum.
No, it's a few seconds before the earthquake gets
Damage or hit, yeah.
infrastructure or it's just a few seconds, but it is early before the earthquake happens.
No, I think that he's trying to ask, can we predict earthquakes? Is that a question?
I understand what is explanation.
Yeah, okay. So just to be clear, today there is no wrong answers, okay? Whatever you hear, whatever you tell us, everything is, yeah. No, really, really. When you're dealing with DRR, you cannot go wrong, except if you go on response side, then that's bad, yeah. we are trying to do whatever we can before something happens. No. Do you have any questions?
No? Okay, I have some.
Okay, thank you. The balcony, does it have balcony any questions, suggestions?
So good morning. I realized that in your activities targeting earthquakes, one action was to build governance. I think it was on the second slide. Yes, in identifying gaps in governance. Will this be specific for earthquakes, or is more a cross-cutting issue, all hazard issue that should be addressed?
We can address for all hazards. We also put it in for forest fighting because of for countries' views. Yeah, for Turkey, for forest fighting it is clear. We need to identify the gaps in response issues in forest fighting, but we can put it all for all hazards. Yeah.
Yeah, how did you decide about the budget? Like, for instance, why do you have more budget for forest fires than earthquakes?
Maybe Maya can can answer for economic side.
Well, the experts elaborated the activities within each activities, and somehow we saw that the largest investment segment is in the fire fighters, and that was the largest, the 50 million. You were asking why 50 that much for fire opposite earthquake. I don't know. The campaigns are more or less the same, but these activities for strengthening capacity for fire had largest construction needs. A flood, sorry. Mm-hmm.
Therefore, 50 million euros.
It's also expensive to retrofit buildings.
Yes, yes.
Thank you. I guess it's not really the aim of the exercise in a sense, but in a way, when you look at all the different budgets across these different hazards, then you would, for example, with the raising awareness, you might want to pool the resources to just raise awareness on each hazard at once, in a sense, so that you wouldn't kind of focus separately, because we want to look at things from a systemic multi-hazard risk lens, but I mean, that's just an observation.
Okay, it's my turn now. Yeah, sorry, what? No. Okay, the stuff I really like, that you always start with raising awareness, the basic stuff, and then you go to the other parts of disaster risk management cycle. Yeah, that part I really like. What I think that you could do better, in my opinion, you maybe group the activities which shouldn't be grouped together if you're trying to apply for the projects, but that's only my opinion. What I really liked is that you show us, if you invest prior to disaster, you will spend less money if you want to invest in response teams and activities, then you have to have a lot of money. And that's the thing that I really like. And I have another thing just to find. Yeah. We talked about it yesterday, and you still didn't do it. You know what I'm talking about. So yes. We were discussing about the pilots and their problem, and I said, when you're thinking about the the firefighting pilot problem, go a little step back and back and back. Go to the first problem that you have. They don't have school for the pilots. And still they didn't put it up there, but yeah, another round of applause for our group number 3. You have questions? Oh, sorry. Okay, Natasha has one. Yeah, one.
Yeah, thank you, Darsha. I was thinking more about the process, if you thought about it at all. Who was involved in the development of the action plan? Which ministries did you involve in the development of the action plan? Did you think about that? Or is it just disaster management agencies?
It's really tricky to how that I can explain this, because it's different things between our countries. So in our presentation we use the practices what Turkey have. So the main activities is involved with your agency. I don't know exactly the name of this agency, but all activities will do it inside of that. So it's different practice in Croatia and probably in Macedonia and Turkey. So it depends on the countries. So probably in that case, I think all activities is in charge for the Civil Protection Agency of Turkey. I don't know exactly the name, but that.
Okay, the reason why I'm asking this is that we're developing national disaster risk management action plans here. And we're supposed to think, yeah, you guys are all from civil protection, mostly from civil protection. You have a bad guy as well, but also involve bad guys in the process as well. And maybe in that case, the activities would be a bit different, or maybe you would prioritize a bit differently, because you can't always, even though civil protection usually is the disaster management agency, and then by default it deals with disaster risk reduction as well, you can't always put your activities first. Maybe in earthquakes it would be retrofitting first, and the civil protection doesn't do retrofitting. It's usually construction or something like that. Or maybe it would be in floods, I don't know, something else. Or in forest, it would be forests. For forest fires, it would be forests and not extinguishing fires, and so on and so forth. That's why I wanted to ask this. I wanted to ask actually what your main goals are for your plan, for your action plan. Is it to be more prepared or to have lower risks? But yeah, good ideas. Great effort. Thank you for spending the time yesterday to develop this. And I think Zausha now, if you're...
Okay, we can move on. Yeah. Group number 2. Sorry? Yeah, you just put it on the stick. Do you have the stick?
All right, so we identified the three hazards already mentioned before: earthquakes, fires, and floods. Within our group, we identified several ministries, agencies, NGOs, and moreover, to take part in such kind of actions. So these are not limited to the ones mentioned here. You will see more within each activity as we draw on them. So we have Ministry of Interior or Ministry of Defense that will act as a hosting authority for civil protection. We have the Ministry of Infrastructure, Ministry of Development, Public Works and Administration, Environment, meteorological agencies, agencies regarding water, NGOs, academic communities, local communities, Ministry of Health, National Insurance Pool, Ministry of Transport, Telecommunication Services, National Commission for Nuclear Activities, because we are also talking about some multi-risk issues, General Inspectorate of Aviation, General Inspectorate for Emergency Situations, and so on and so forth. They shall be mentioned within every activity. So starting off with earthquakes, we designated the coordination for this activity to the hosting authority for civil protection. They having the main role in leading every kind of action pre, post, and in the course of a disaster. And some of the involved institutions will be local municipalities in case of a small-scale event, NGOs, Ministry of Development, Public Works and Administrations, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Infrastructure, of Defense, firefighters, scientific institutes regarding earth physics in order to monitor and alert in a real-time scenario, Ministry of Health, Veterinary Services, National Insurance Pool, Telecommunication Services, Ministry of Transport, National Commission for Nuclear Activities in case we have nuclear plants in the zone of the earthquake, Ministry of Education, and Ministry of Energy. Within our first activity, we focused on raising awareness regarding seismic risks. This will take place yearly from 2023 to 2028, because raising awareness is something that can benefit each person individually and it's useful all of the time. So the key main activities we are tracking are awareness campaigns in which the results are tracked via number of people that participated in the campaigns, or either via tests and written materials that were published. Exercises with local communities regarding earthquakes. For example, schools, kindergartens, and hospitals. These results will be monitored with the number of exercises underwent to each institution separately. And the last activity, including risk prevention activities in the school's curricula. This is something that we also want to implement from the early ages of school, because as young as they are, they must learn about risks. And for example, we have in several countries from the grades 1 to 4, we have several activities like the country of risks, small games for children to play and understand a way of small scale intervention, how to put out a fire, how to act in case of an earthquake, and so on. And we think these three activities intertwine together in order to help the population trigger a response in case of a emergency. We are a table of engineers, so for our financial frame and sources, we together draw the conclusion that it's going to be funded from the national budget, but we don't have a number quite yet. The strategic project or activity number 2, we have plans and intervention. I know that intervention is the bad guy here and we want to prevent, but we see disaster risk management as more of a cycle. So if you develop something towards intervention, that will help you in the recovery phase, and the recovery phase will help you into the prevention. So it's all intertwined. In this project, we decided on a time frame of 2023 to 2026 because we want to have all the necessary equipment as soon as possible. And the key activities being developing action plans and intervention plans, buying equipment and training personnel in order to use such equipment. The financial framework for these are the cohesion funds or structural funds. And key activity number 3, we have recovery plans comprising these 3 activities. Elaborating the recovery plans in order to either reconstruct or rethink several buildings and several key affected points of infrastructure in order to further help preventing such events in the future. Identifying the entities that should be involved in a transboundary and international level in order for us to have a easier approach when it's a large-scale event, and again establishing agreements with such entities. The framework for this are the EU funds, United Nations Organization, World Health Organization, and so on. Regarding the second hazard, the forest fires, again, we established as the coordinator for the activity, the hosting authority for civil protection. And we involved institutions such as Ministry of Interior, General Inspectorate of Aviation, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Development, Public Works and Administration, Ministry of Transport, and so on. Regarding our main projects, the first one, constructing smart infrastructure for forest fire, either intervention or prevention. What I mean by this, there are certain points where forest fire occurs in the mountainside areas in which it's very hard either to predict, to monitor, and also to intervene. Therefore, we decided that between 2023 and 2025, we will take part in the construction of water tanks that are built at the top of the mountains in order for the helicopters to resupply very fast and have a faster approach. Also, these water tanks may act as a surveillance point in order to prevent the further spreading of the forest fires. Also, another activity here would be planning the areas that can be subject to intentional deforestation in order to stop the spread of forest fires. This can be done mechanically, where you go and deforest ahead of time and just prevent the wildfire spreading. Or you can use the technique that's called fight fire with fire and you place an intentional fire in order to stop the spreading forest fire. The financial frame for this is the national budget. The strategic point or activity number 2, we went with raising awareness regarding forest fires and its correlation with climate change issues. We see a strong dependency on the rising of temperatures and the startling of forest fires. Therefore, we must have some campaigns regarding forest fires and climate change in order to help the population understand its importance and how to mitigate or prevent the operation of it, because we deal with a lot of intentional fires that are sparked in the forest as a result of barbecues and illegal trash burning and stuff like that. Also, regarding these campaigns, we'll have video spots on the topics previously mentioned and distribution of written informal materials, these acting as a way to track the results of this campaign. The budget for this will be local or county budget. We decided on county budget because not all the counties have a forest nearby and are definitely not as affected, and maybe will be subject only to the climate change campaigns of raising awareness. The time frame for this is along 5 years, 2023, 2028, done every year, because every year we could identify different topics on which to talk about. The third and final activity for this is increasing the monitoring power in key regions. For now, we decided on the time frame to be 2023 to 2025 because, again, we have some acquisition of equipment we must purchase and also recruit people. So we're starting with the training and recruitment of new forest guards, because the forest guards are at the moment a dying breed, let's say. There are not so many of them. That's not a rich history in them, and they are certainly very useful for this. Of course, if you get forest guards, you must purchase equipment in accordance to their needs and to give them the opportunity to manage such events. Therefore, the most the most proactive measure that we found so far was planning a monitoring zone via thermal vision drones. This being the cutting edge technology at the moment. This ends satellite vision. But for this, we have to purchase the thermal vision drones and also train the new recruits in order to use the thermal vision drones. These two activities go hand in hand because you have the new recruits who are just coming in and they can absorb this information as a standby from the early beginnings and actually go and become experts in this field. The financial frame for this are cohesion funds and EU funds. We are jumping to hazard number 3, which are floods. The first again, we assignated the hosting authority for civil protection in order to lead and coordinate these activities. The involved institutions will be pedological agencies, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Environment, Ministry of Development, Public Works and Administration, Ministry of Transport, Ministry of Communication, water supplying companies, local municipalities, and NGOs. The first activity that we identified is clearing the riverbeds of incoming debris. This is a high priority because every year after rainfall and natural occurrences, the riverbeds tend to raise up in volume. This being a prevention measure, if you clear the waterbeds and the walls around the waterbeds, then the level of the river in question will drop significantly. In order to do this, we set a time frame from 2023 to 2027. This activity should be done, we decided on either yearly or bi-yearly. And the key activities regarding this is purchasing high-capacity pumps in order to recirculate the water and make some artificial erosion on it, building dams, constructing, and also contracting companies to clean the waterbeds themselves. All of this is supported from the national budget. The second and last activity will be raising awareness to the risk of floods. This being a contemporary topic, the risk of floods is present in all of our countries. And I think we all have the problem with the population not actually being aware of their surroundings. So we are doing this every year from 2023 to 2028. And in this, we'll have these 3 key activities. Awareness campaigns in order to inform the general public on the risks that they are undergoing for them, for their property, for their livestock, and so on. A training of population, because maybe some people do not realize exactly the extent of the risk until you are trained properly on how to take action against them. So just building dikes and filling sandbags and working near the riverbed, that gives you a general idea of how bad it can get. Also, but not the least, developing or readjusting flood plans. Since the last 10 to 5 years, climate change issues have had a lot of consequences regarding flooding activities. Therefore, some plans will need readjustment. I know that in certain legislations, they should be readjusted annually according to the law, but that's not always the case. Therefore, developing new ones or readjusting not so old ones may be a way to go. And maybe you can contract a firm that will do that for you because they have a new and clear vision on it rather than your own stuck-up vision for it. This activity will be sponsored from the national budget. If you have any questions, me and my team are here to respond.
Wow. Thank you, group number 2. A little different approach, maybe more into detail, yeah? And I really, really like it, but let's start with the group questions. Group number 3, do you have some? Okay, they're shy. Group number 1, do you have any question for your colleagues? No. Balcony, of course.
Well done, group number 2. I have a question like how inclusive is your action plan, like in this long list of stakeholders? I'm wondering who is representing the groups most at risk, like disability community and so on. So that's my question.
Well, we have indeed a lot of actors involved in this. We tried to keep it not that inclusive because of the overlapping activities and overlapping of attitudes between them. But regarding your question, I think the local municipalities are the most involved into local events and strictly isolated events. I don't know if this answers your question exactly.
Okay, so my turn now. Good morning again, and thank you for the very comprehensive presentation. And it's impressive in such a short period of time how much you have achieved in defining these activities. It's not a question, it's rather a comment or a concern. And of course, there is no one size fits all. So the approaches that are used in one state might be different from the others in different ones. But one thing that concerned me in your presentation was that always civil protection is in charge. So this might lead to the consequence that civil protection authority will be overwhelmed with so many activities. So my suggestion will be try to assign different roles and different responsibilities for the separated activities. For instance, on on earthquakes, the issue of bringing education to schools. So this should not be a task for Civil Protection Authority, but rather for the Ministry of Education. The same would apply for building dams for floods, part of water administration, Ministry of Environment, etc. It's true that I realize this is just the umbrella, but as it is stated in the law that the umbrella is civil protection, everybody will be relaxed and waiting for civil protection to do their job, and civil protection will be overwhelmed. We passed this process from the pilot strategy we had in Portugal. Well, most of the activities were carried out under the responsibility of Civil Protection Authority, and now in the current one, the majority of activities are led by other organizations. This is important to have a real feeling of all of society approach, all of a commitment of different stakeholders, not to avoid Civil Protection Authority to be completely overwhelmed with so many different activities to coordinate. So that's just a comment or a suggestion. Of course, might be useful or not, but the concern is that
it is very useful. Thank
we
you.
will not be overwhelmed as Civil Protection officers.
I guess my question and comment goes to the questions that were asked before, and I was thinking more into you're mentioning NGOs, and I was thinking how exactly would you envisage including NGOs in all of these activities? Yes, they are important. But as the previous participant mentioned, we need a wider approach and relax a little bit the civil protection authorities in managing all the affairs. One additional comment, I think that this group cheated because when we were all last night to dinner, they stay and work. So they're not playing fair.
It's called commitment, yes?
Thank you for your comments. Regarding what you said with NGOs, the NGOs we had in mind when we drafted this were the Red Cross, the main one, because Red Cross is going to be involved in everything regarding post-disasters and prevention of disasters with manpower and everything they have to do in saving lives and preventing the loss of lives. Also, in several countries, we have cave explorers and search and rescue teams that are part of NGOs. And in case of an earthquake, for example, those teams will come very in handy.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation, really comprehensive. I think particularly impressive with kind of the innovative technologies and how you kind of integrated that into different bits and pieces. I had a question, just maybe thinking more on the DRR financing side and the kind of topic of some of the presentations over the last days. So when we looked at the financial frame sources, I noted that, yeah, you had EU funds, cohesion funds, national government budgets, more localized budgets and so on. I was just wondering if in your team you had discussed kind of options of risk transfer or different innovative financial instruments or anything in that kind of regard where you bring in different sectors, private sector maybe, to kind of leveraging funds for adaptation, mitigation, and so forth?
Thank you for your question. We did put the problem, but mostly our experience was more towards the technical side, more of us being engineers. So we focused more on the activities and how to do it exactly, and focused less on the financing because it was a weak point. Thank you.
Thanks.
What political answer?
I actually like the part that you focused on your strengths, which actually proves that while you do the actual national action plan, you have to involve the finance guys as well, which is what we talk about throughout the days. Yeah, I noticed that you didn't put any numbers in your projects, which makes the fact that you did put numbers in your projects really I applaud you on that. So, you know, good work. It's a different approach, but sort of focus on your strengths, but also use other guys from the country and from other ministries to help you develop a complete plan. Otherwise, it's just focused either on one area or it has hopes. But yeah, we have here the capacities that we have, so we have to use them to our best. So, yeah, well done.
Well, I have just one remark, and it's our recovery plans. They are usually left behind, so yeah. Okay, you're free to go. Yeah. Group number 1. No, it's different, but
So, hello everybody. Our group is made of 3 countries of Albania, Montenegro, and the Republic of North Macedonia. This is why also our common risks have been selected regarding the level of exposure that our countries have. That are the same as for the region: the floods, the forest fires, and the earthquakes. Our general goals that have been distinguished regarding these type of hazards have been presented in 3 main pillars, like risk mitigation and adaptation. The addressing of these 3 hazards and the level of the risk in strategy, in the national strategy. And the third important pillar are the capacity building. All of our countries are still in the level that the capacity building of disaster risk management needs to be improved. So the main goals regarding these 3 hazards are to manage existing risks and prevent the new ones, to increase awareness, national knowledge, and facilitate information on DRR, to create resilient, sustainable communities with attention to vulnerable groups, people with disabilities, and gender equality, to enhance response capacities through building resilient infrastructure, and to decrease the budget uncertainty for DRR. I mean, these goals are comprehensive for all the type of hazards, not only these three ones, but in regard with the hazard we have been selected. So the goals are like more general. In order to address and to achieve the goals or these objectives, we thought that maybe the right term is not best approach, one of good approaches, because there is no best approach, especially regarding the phase and the level of disaster risk management that a country has. So regarding the first hazard of floods, we believe that the rehabilitation and upgrade of damaged infrastructure, and where there is a risk of collapse, that it's an approach for risk mitigation. The rescue and protection plans in the central and local level, the capacity building of institutions responsible for irrigation and drainage in terms of monitoring, design, construction, and repair of protective infrastructure, and strengthening the response and early warning system capacity for floods, which is one of main objectives regarding flood management. Regarding the forest fires, our group believes that one of the best approaches is creating a database for all information on forest fire risk, project and research related with this risk. Also, awareness raising campaigns informing citizens of forest fire risk and reducing the potential anthropogenic forest fires induced by the community. I can talk for Albania, but as we discussed in our group, most of the forest fires are man-made. I mean, are caused by people, especially in Albania. 90% of the forest fires are induced by people. So community awareness for us is very, very important. And also prepare a methodology for forest management, including wildfire risk management, which provides separate considerations for national protected areas and areas owned by municipalities, because forest is an asset that is managed and is under the administration of municipalities. And regarding the third hazard, earthquakes, for us is important the development of a national program for seismic hazard assessment. Also, an approach recommended is a sovereign and or sub-sovereign risk transfer mechanisms, and increasing the number of experts in the seismic fields and modernizing equipment. Which are the institutions involved in the preparation of DRM? It's almost the same in all of the countries. The line ministries regarding their field of responsibility for the specific hazard. So almost all the line ministries. Then agencies which are responsible for some specific hazard, like Water Resource Management Agency for the floods, Institute of Geosciences and Geological Service for the earthquake and forest fires, the National Territory Planning Agency, which is very plays a very important role in earthquake risk or seismic risk, Institution of Public Health, and also NGOs, universities, Union of Municipalities. So these are in a general point of view, all the stakeholders involved in risk management. If we like specify which would be some of main strategic projects regarding the earthquake risk management, we have evidenced improving and restructuring the seismological network. The coordinator for this activity would be Ministry of Infrastructure and Energy and Institute of Geosciences. and involved institutions, Polytechnic University and Ministry of Education and Sports. But it is not limited in this institution. Let me explain that national agencies of civil protection in our country plays a coordination and monitoring role, and they are not responsible directly for the implementation of these strategic projects. So national civil protection agency guarantees or make it possible that all the responsible structure take their role and focus on these strategic projects and make sure that they include these strategic projects in their midterm budget planning. The time frame of this project is like a 2-year project, and the key activities are the improvement of current monitoring technology, densifying of earthquake monitoring network stations, improvement of technology and systematization of the current network, the renovation of the current seismological stations. The financial frame is of course, this is not a fixed cost. I mean, it's an approximate value, 2.2 million euros. But of course, the state budget is not able to finance all the sum. So donor support is very welcomed in this regard. For the floods, we have distinguished a strategic project increasing the safety of river flood protection through the rehabilitation of existing embankments and the construction of new structures. This is a long time project because of the type and regarding the infrastructure rehabilitation. The coordinator for the activity is Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development, who is responsible for the basins, river basins in national level, and also involved institutions are the municipalities. Also, the financial frame for this project, since it is a long-term, it's like a huge amount and will not be able to be covered only by the state budget. Then for the forest fires, we selected like a modest project regarding the development of methodology for fire management plans at the local level, which is very important since we know that the risk and the hazard are a local concept. So when the fire happens, it's a local area that has been affected. So municipalities are in the first line of the preparation for this methodology for the fire management plans. Is a 1-year project with a financial frame of 12,000 euro from the state budget, and it's like a technical study and preparation of the methodology and the approval of this methodology. So this is our presentation regarding these 3 hazards. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, group number 1. So let's start with the questions. Guys? No? Balcony?
I'll take a, okay, so thank you very much, Group 1. It's not a question, it's rather a comment. I have to emphasize 2 important things in your approach. One is that you framed your action plan within 5 strategic objectives. This is quite important. I mean, of course, we think about concrete actions to target certain risks, but to have this overall all-hazard cross-cutting frame, it's important so that we can build our strategy, because actually there are activities or there are actions that when we perform those actions, they are targeting several risks at the same time. So quite important that you have framed your action plan with these strategic goals. And also, when you present your activities, you define a coordinator, but you also defined other organizations that are involved. This is quite important to know how many different stakeholders could be part of the process. And this, if you involve several stakeholders, this means that you also go into their networks and find also other opportunities for funding. I'm sure that if the groups were different, the outcomes will be different as well, because every one of us has their own expertise, their own knowledge, and we know funding mechanisms in our field of expertise in our area. Others do the opposite. So if we bring all this expertise from different actors, then for sure you'll have a more broader scope of possible opportunities for funding. So try to resist to the temptation of building action plans based on just one agency. It's clearly a joint effort of different organizations, of different public and non-public entities, and this is the way of getting information from different sources that probably will not be aware of.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Thank you. And thank you for the presentation. I also agree with Carlos. I love the goals that you set up just before you went into details. And I actually have a follow-up question to Carlos. Is, did you think about actions that and projects that would target more than one risk? For example, like, not just education and raising awareness that could tackle more risks as one, but sort of integrated actions that could at the same time tackle floods and, for example, droughts or floods and forest fires in your case, since you all have the same three risks. I also have a question for the flood plan. I saw you took care of some of your infrastructure. Did you perhaps think about green infrastructure and implementing green infrastructure? We talked about it yesterday. Yeah, we were only here for 2 days. We talked about it yesterday a little bit for the local level, and it turns out to be a really cheap and really good way for the local level to reduce flood risk. But unfortunately, when we think about flood risk, what we immediately think of is huge embankments, and that's what we all invest in. But maybe in the future we could also think about little local solutions that actually can tackle much more and are in the end cheaper and can also contribute to reducing more than one risk. In this case, it would be heat waves if you had more green areas in the city. But all in all, I like the approach, and I like the presentation. Thank you.
Do you want to comment? Just say thank you.
Yeah, just, I mean, my comment for the first question is referred to the national experience of Albania, since even most of the presentation is influenced by the work we have been doing recently, since we are in the, it's a question of days that our national DRR strategy will be approved and hopefully started to be implemented in the 2023. And this is why I wanted to share the fact that more than 30% of our strategic projects in this strategy are multi-hazard approach, because even our national risk assessment has been a multi-hazard approach assessment. So all the recommendations and the findings have been addressed through this multi-hazard approach. So we hopefully we will implement, but at least the strategic projects cover more than one hazard in the same time. As per the green infrastructure, unfortunately, not this time. We are in the first steps on adopting some eco-based solutions because as everybody know that disaster risk management is mostly question of culture. So communities and people are in that phase that have to be aware for the risk management concepts and how to play their important role or to understand how much their role is important in DRM. And then maybe the second phase will be introducing to local communities and local municipalities these eco-based solutions. But I think that in few municipalities we have already some first steps regarding the eco-base, but it's not to be. I don't know. Do I have answered? Covered?
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, it's 10:15. Before we leave for a coffee break and reconvene in half an hour. Okay. We don't. It's 10:15. Sorry, okay. Let me say just one thing before whatever we do next. Yeah. Well, we have three groups. As Vlatko said, group number 2 was cheating. Well, I disagree. I think that group number 3 actually was cheating because they took a little bit of them and of group number 3 and a little bit of group number 2 and create the representation. So, but it's something up to discussion. Okay, voting. Yes. We are going to start with voting for the best project or best activities for the hazards. So, how are you going to vote? We're going to count your raised arms, and guys in the balcony are also allowed to vote. Yeah, you're not going to lose your arms, don't worry. So, group number 3. Who thinks, and if you agree with me, you just raise your hands, that they, for the earthquakes, they do everything that can be done. So, yeah, well, I was asking about them. Okay, let's start with group number 1 then. Okay. Group number 1, group number 2, group number 3. Okay, let's start again. Whew.
No, go ahead.
Group number 1 then, group over there, all girls group. So, sorry, the other. Yeah, but he's old lady. So, yeah, he's all ugly lady, so it's, yeah. Okay. What about there's earthquake project? No. Wow, gentlemen. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. Yeah. So we have. Okay. 3. Guys in the back. No one. Oh my God. Okay. 3, 4, 5. What, are you scared of them? 7. Okay. What about flood? No one? Forest fire? We are going to have fight afterwards. Oh my God. Forest fire? Okay. Another gentleman. Let's move to the group number 2. What about earthquakes? Who thinks that? Okay. It's too fast for me. But it's a half a vote. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. Earthquake was a recovery plan. You had a recovery plan in an earthquake. In my vote. Okay. Flood. 1, 2, 3. And forest fire. Sorry, what? Oh, yes. 4, sorry. And 6. Group number 3, earthquakes. 2, okay. Floods. You cannot vote for yourself. We are not politicians. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And forest fire. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, we have hazard winners. Daniela, if you please. For the earthquake, we have group number 2. So the prize is coming. Maybe today we have to leave. Yeah, no. Guys, this is your prize. The group number 3 actually took the first prize for floods. And also for Oman. No, it's 2 for 5. Just give them the prize. Yeah. And for forest fires, it's prize goes to the group number 2 as well. But this is the small stuff. Now we are going to the overall winner. Best group. So, who thinks that the group number 1 has the best overall approach? Group number 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, group number 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And group number 3. 1, 2. So, ladies, oh my God. Oh my God, by a mile. Yeah, but it's not the brain balance, it's tilting over there, so I'm going. I'm joking. Okay, sorry. We'll then have a conclusions, a wrap up, and then coffee break. And who needs to check out then? No need? Yeah, okay. And
Thank
Natasha
you,
is going
everyone.
to speak now. Yeah, thank you.
Every day. Okay, thank you, everyone. We had some fun after all, even here. I would like to, maybe we can make our wrap-ups right now. We decided not to force you to come back after coffee break because it's been quite hard in the past few days to bring you back from the breaks. I blame the Dubrovnik weather and the nice terraces outside. So we decided to sort of end our socializing right here. And after all of these great actually wrap-ups that you guys gave in your working groups. Thank you for the week. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for participating in what we sort of designed for you during this group work. Some of you even missing the tour in order to prepare the best projects, and see you got the gifts, so it was worth it, I guess. We saw a lot this week. It's a lot of information. It's a lot of news. Maybe some of them are not new. Some of them are new. We saw a lot of international organizations and a lot of tools we can use, both on the national level and on the local level. We saw a lot of funding opportunities and ways to plan how we're going to finance disaster risk reduction, which I think is the most important one. We saw ideas of how to engage the local level as well, which is also very important, even though we are all on the national level, but we sort of depend on their response first, not just response when a disaster happens, but response in disaster risk reduction as well. We also saw some great examples of national systems on how to reduce risks, and I thank you guys for that as well. You may not call it good examples or good practices, but it's really good. What I find the good practice is to share good practices or practices in general, and to discuss them and to see what we can take out. I hope this is not the last time we're discussing disaster risk reduction. I actually think this is just the beginning, discussing financing disaster risk reduction, because it's obviously becoming more and more important, unfortunately. I think we need to, in general, not just listen to the presentations and work on our national plans after that, but discuss with each other and learn from each other and take examples from each other, because it just makes things much easier than to reinvent the wheel every time we have to do it ourselves. So I thank you for that as well. We heard some good examples from the region and from outside the region, even during the high level. So we saw that approach as well. I think we can take some good practices out of this week. I hope you can take something back home. And I would also like to thank UNDRR for sticking with us for this week. I hope, well, congratulations for sticking with us throughout this week and before in preparing. I hope it didn't ruin any of our connections or relationships doing this. I hope we can do it, we can collaborate again. And would, on that note, like to ask Nick if he can join us and share his conclusions as well.
Thank you, Natasha. So just on behalf of UNDRR, thank you so much, Natasha, Zavisha, Government of Croatia, for hosting this, along with DPPI, and then of course all the member states represented here today. I think it was a very interesting past couple of days, bringing in all these different connections across all these different priorities and streams. Natasha summed it up nicely in terms of all the different tools and different practices that I think are in the mix here. Not too much more to add, but I think when we look at financing in particular as one of the kind of the key pillars of we're looking at the EFDRR roadmap, looking at kind of overall regional implementation of the Sendai priorities. It's obviously a key pillar, but then we're looking at risk knowledge and data. It came up in every one of these action plans, gathering the evidence base, looking at these different criteria and solutions, and the governance aspects of it. And yeah, it's important to kind of tie all these different pieces together. And UNDRR, we're happy to work with everyone here to look closely at these different areas and see how we can support. So it's the beginning of a conversation. I think when we were talking about this a couple of months ago, we don't want it to be just a one-off type of thing, but part of a series of workshops and dialogues to pick up on this and work towards implementation of all these different priorities. So thank you so much. And yeah, we look forward to working with you all over the coming months and years.
Thank you, Nick. And thank you, everyone. And with this, we can wrap up. Coffee break is outside, but we won't be coming back to the room, so please take all of your belongings. As I mentioned yesterday, checkout for those who are leaving today is until 12. Have a safe trip. Thank you again for coming, and I hope we can see you again somewhere in another workshop, or hopefully not in the field. Thank you, guys.